Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the New Harmony Colony's main building. The morning sun of Kepler 4-4 to be painted the sky in soft orange colors. Below him, 50,000 humans went about their daily lives. Children played in the parks while their parents worked in the farming domes and research labs. This was home now, 200 light-years from Earth. "Beautiful morning," said Dr. Linda Hayes as she joined him at the window. She carried a tablet full of reports about the terraforming project. The air outside was getting cleaner every month, thanks to the machines they had built. "Best one yet," Jake replied with a smile. He had been the colony administrator for 5 years now. Watching New Harmony grow from a few metal buildings to a real city filled him with pride. These people had trusted him to keep them safe, and he took that job seriously. The colony stretched out for miles in every direction. White buildings rose between green gardens and blue water channels. Hover cars moved quietly along the streets. In the distance, the great farming towers grew food for everyone. It looked peaceful and perfect. Captain Lisa Blake's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Jake, we have 3 ships on patrol today. All quiet out there. The Saurians haven't bothered us in months." "Good to hear, Lisa. Keep up the good work." Lisa commanded the small defense fleet that protected New Harmony. 3 patrol ships wasn't much, but they had never needed more. The Galactic Empire kept the peace out here. Humans paid their taxes and followed the rules. In return, they were left alone to build their new lives. Jake walked through the colony center that afternoon. He stopped to watch kids playing soccer in the main square. Their laughter echoed off the buildings. An old man named Pete Wilson waved from his flower shop. Maria Santos called out from a restaurant where the smell of fresh bread filled the air. Administrator Morrison called out Dr. Kevin Wright. He ran the colony's medical center. "The new babies are all healthy. We had 3 more born this week. It's wonderful news. Kevin, population growth is exactly what we need." Everything was going according to plan. The colony was growing stronger every year. Soon they would have 100,000 people, then maybe 1 million. New Harmony would become one of humanity's greatest achievements. But Jake didn't know that death was already coming for them all. Far above the planet, space began to ripple and bend. Captain Lisa Blake sat in the command chair of the patrol ship U.S. Guardian. Her sensor officer, Lieutenant Danny Ross, stared at his screen with confusion. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings. Something big is coming out of hyperspace." Hey, Lisa leaned forward. "How big? Really big, ma'am? Multiple contacts? I count. ... Oh no. There are at least 50 ships coming through." The space around New Harmony erupted in flashes of light. Massive alien warships appeared one after another. They were dark and covered in sharp edges that looked like weapons. Lisa had never seen ships like these before. "Red alert," Lisa ordered. "All ships, form up on me. Send a message to the colony. We have unknown vessels approaching." The lead alien ship was 3 times bigger than Lisa's entire patrol fleet combined. It looked like a giant knife made of black metal. Strange symbols glowed red along its hull. Lisa knew they were in serious trouble. "This is Captain Lisa Blake of the Human Patrol Fleet," she broadcast to the alien ships. "You have entered New Harmony space. Please state your business here." The response came in perfect English, but the voice was cold and cruel. "I am Admiral Zektar of the Saurian Empire. Your colony is now under our control. Surrender immediately, or be destroyed." Lisa's blood ran cold. The Saurians were part of the Galactic Empire, just like humans. They had no right to attack a peaceful colony. "Admiral, there must be some mistake. We are tax-paying citizens of the Galactic Empire. We have done nothing wrong." "You exist," Zektar replied. "That is crime enough. You humans think you can spread across the galaxy like a disease. Today, we begin to cure that problem." Lisa quickly sent a message to Jake on the planet below. "Colony Command, we have a major problem. Saurian fleet demanding surrender. They're threatening to attack. Recommend immediate evacuation procedures." Jake received the message while having dinner with his staff. The words hit him like a punch to the stomach. "This can't be happening," he whispered. He activated the colony's emergency system. Warning sirens began to wail across New Harmony. The peaceful evening was shattered by the sound of panic and fear. "Attention all citizens," Jake announced over the colony speakers. "This is not a drill. Report to emergency shelters immediately. All defense personnel to battle stations." But Jake knew their defenses were useless against 50 warships. New Harmony had been built for farming and research, not war. They had a few weapon platforms and some barriers, but nothing that could stop a real military attack. Families ran through the streets carrying their children. Pete Wilson helped elderly people reach the shelters. Dr. Wright organized the medical teams. Everyone worked together, just like they always had. But this time it might not be enough. Above them, Captain Lisa Blake made the hardest decision of her life. Her 3 small ships couldn't fight 50 massive warships, but she could try to buy time for the evacuation. All ships, attack pattern Delta, target the lead vessel, then pay for every second. The human patrol ships charged toward the Saurian fleet. Their weapons fired streams of blue energy at the massive alien ships. The beams struck the lead vessel's shields and scattered harmlessly. Admiral Zektar watched the pathetic attack from his command deck. The human ships were like insects trying to fight a giant. "Destroy them," he ordered with amusement. Red energy. Beams reached out from the Saurian ships. They struck the U's Guardian and tore through its hull like paper. Lisa had just enough time to see her bridge exploding around her before everything went white. The other 2 human ships lasted only seconds. Longer. In less than a minute, New Harmony's entire defense fleet was gone. On the planet below, Jake watched the bright flashes in the sky that marked the death of Lisa Blake and her crews. His communicator was silent now. No one was left to protect. Then began orbital bombardment. Admiral Zektar commanded. "I want every building reduced to ash. Show no mercy to any human you find." The Saurian ships moved into position above New Harmony. Their massive weapons turned toward the planet below. Jake could see them through the colony's telescopes, hanging in space like dark angels of death. The first blast struck the eastern district. Buildings disappeared in a ball of fire that could be seen from space. The shockwave knocked people down miles away. Then came another blast, and another. Jake tried to coordinate the evacuation, but there was nowhere to run. The Saurian ships surrounded the entire planet. Their weapons struck faster than people could reach the shelters. The farming towers collapsed. In sheets of flame, the research centers vanished in seconds. Pete Wilson's flower shop was there one moment and gone the next. Maria Santos's restaurant became a crater in the ground. Families who had been laughing and playing that morning were now running for their lives, but the Saurian weapons found them anyway. Children who had been kicking soccer balls were silenced. Forever, Jake stood in the colony command center as the building shook around him. Through the windows, he could see his city dying. 50,000 people who had trusted him to keep them safe were being murdered for no reason at all. Why are they doing this? Dr. Hayes asked as debris fell from the ceiling. Jake had no answer. There was no reason for this attack. New Harmony had never threatened anyone. They were farmers and scientists, not soldiers. They had followed every law and paid every taxes. None of it mattered now. The command center's walls began to crack. Jake activated the emergency beacon that would carry news of the massacre back. To Earth, it was the only thing left he could do. "This is Administrator Jake Morrison of New Harmony Colony," he recorded. "We are under attack by Saurian forces. They are killing civilians. Send help. Remember us." The beacon launched just as the final Saurian blast struck the command center. Jake Morrison died still trying to save his people, even though he knew it was already too late. The massacre continued through the night. When morning came, nothing moved on the surface of New Harmony except the smoke rising from the ruins. The emergency beacon from New Harmony reached Earth 3 days after the massacre. General Patrick Kane was having morning coffee in his office at Earth Defense Command when the message arrived. The recording played through the speakers, and Jake Morrison's final words filled the room with horror. "This is Administrator Jake Morrison of New Harmony Colony. We are under attack by Saurian forces. They are killing civilians. Send help. Remember us. Patrick's coffee cup fell from his hands and shattered on the floor. 50,000 people. Men, women, children, all dead for no reason. He had visited New Harmony 2 years ago. He remembered the children playing in the parks and the proud faces of the colonists, showing off their new home. "Get me President Foster on the secure line," Patrick ordered his aide. "Priority 1 emergency." Within an hour, the president's emergency cabinet was assembled in the White House Situation Room. President Amanda Foster sat at the head of the table, her face pale as she watched the beacon's video footage. The images showed Saurian soldiers hunting down human families who were trying to hide in the ruins. "How many survivors?" Amanda asked quietly. "None, Madam President," reported Intelligence Director Ryan Cross. "Our satellites confirmed total destruction. Saurians made sure no one escaped." The room fell silent. Defense Secretary Carl Brooks cleared his throat. "Madam President, this is an act of war. 50,000 American citizens have been murdered by a member species of the Galactic Empire." Amanda stood up slowly. She had been president for 6 years, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "I want options. All of them." General Kane opened a classified folder. "Madam President, we've been preparing for this day longer than most people know. Earth Defense Command has been developing weapons and ships in secret for the past 20 years. We suspected something like this might happen eventually." "What kind of weapons?" Amanda asked. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes burned with intelligence and anger. "We call it the Ghost Protocol, stealth technology that makes our ships invisible to all known alien sensors. Quantum torpedoes that can destroy any alien vessel with a single hit. And production facilities hidden across the solar system. Activated a holographic display. We have been building a secret fleet for 2 decades. Public thinks we have maybe 50 warships. The truth is we have over 2,000. The cabinet members stared at the display in shock. Ships they had never seen before filled the screen. Some looked like traditional human vessels, but others were completely new designs. "Why wasn't Congress informed?" asked the Secretary of State. "It's because some threats require absolute secrecy," General Kane replied. "We learned from Earth's history. The aliens see us as weak farmers and traders. We wanted them to keep thinking that until it was too late." President Foster studied the display. "How long would it take to deploy this fleet?" "Admiral Marcus Webb is already mobilizing our forces," Dr. Vasquez said. "He can have the first wave ready in 72 hours. The full fleet will take 2 weeks. Amanda nodded slowly. "I want to address the nation tonight. The galaxy needs to understand what happens when you murder American citizens." That evening, President Foster stood before the cameras in the Oval Office. Behind her hung the American flag and the flag of Earth. Her voice was calm, but her words cut like steel. "My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth, 3 days ago, the colony of New Harmony was destroyed by forces of the Saurian Empire. 1,000 innocent people were murdered in cold blood. Men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong, except try to build a better life among the stars." She paused, letting the words sink in. "The Saurian Empire believes humans are weak. They think we will accept this massacre and do nothing. They are wrong." The president's eyes grew hard. "As of this moment, a state of war exists between Earth and the Saurian Empire. We will not rest until every person responsible for this atrocity has been brought to justice. We will show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity." Across Earth, people watched the speech with growing anger. In New York, construction workers stopped their jobs to enlist in the military. In California, factory workers volunteered to build warships. In Texas, farmers signed up to grow food for the war effort. The reaction was the same everywhere. Humanity was going to war. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the battleship U.S. Vengeance. Around him, the largest fleet in human history was assembling. Ships emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Some had been built in secret facilities on the dark side of the moon. Others came from construction yards hidden in the asteroid belt. Webb was 60 years old and had fought in every major space battle of the past 3 decades. He had gray hair and scars on his hands from working on damaged ships. Most aliens thought he was just another old human soldier. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Status report, Webb ordered. 500 ships ready for immediate deployment, reported Captain Nicole Turner. She commanded one of the new stealth destroyers that could appear and disappear like ghosts. The rest of the fleet will join us within 2 weeks. Okay? Webb nodded. And our intelligence network. Intelligence Director Ryan Cross joined them via video link from Earth. Our people are already in position. For 20 years, we've had agents throughout the galaxy disguised as traitors and diplomats. They're ready to begin sabotage operations. On your signal. Webb smiled grimly. The aliens thought humans were just peaceful merchants selling goods throughout the galaxy. They had no idea that many of those merchants were actually Special Forces soldiers gathering intelligence and preparing for war. What about the other alien species? Webb asked. Commander Steve Harrison is already working on that, Cross replied. He's meeting with representatives from a dozen different species. It turns out the Saurians have been planning to attack other races too. When they hear about that, they won't be supporting the Saurian Empire. On a space station near the Galactic core, Commander Steve Harrison sat across from Ambassador Kell of the Zentari Republic. The Zentari looked like giant blue lizards, but they were peaceful traders who had always been friendly with humans. The Saurians did what? Kell asked in shock. Steve showed him the footage from New Harmony. The Zentari ambassador's blue skin turned pale as he watched human families being hunted down and killed. This is monstrous, Kell whispered. Why would they do such a thing? Because they think all other species are inferior, Steve replied. And we have intelligence that suggests they're planning similar attacks on Zentari colonies. Steve opened a classified file. Our agents intercepted these communications. The Saurians refer to your people as blue vermin and discuss the best methods for exterminating your species. Kell's large eyes grew wide with fear and anger. The Zentari Republic will not support the Saurians in this war. In fact, we may be willing to provide assistance to humanity. We appreciate that, Steve said, but we won't ask you to fight our battles. Just stay neutral and let us handle this ourselves. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. The Corvin Trade Federation agreed to stop selling weapons to the Saurians. The telepathic collective of Epsilon Prime refused to provide intelligence support. The crystal beings of Arcturus cut off all diplomatic relations. Within a week, the Saurian Empire found itself completely isolated. Every other species in the galaxy had turned against them or declared neutrality. Back on Earth, the war machine was running at full speed. Dr. Vasquez worked day and night in her laboratory, improving the weapons that would soon rain death on Saurian worlds. The quantum torpedoes were ready. Each one could destroy a Saurian battleship with a single shot. Colonel Derek Stone trained his Special Forces teams in secret facilities beneath the Rocky Mountains. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the best of the best, equipped with technology that would let them strike anywhere in the galaxy. Remember, Stone told his teams, we're not going after military targets first. We're going after the people who ordered the massacre. Every Saurian officer who was at New Harmony will be found and eliminated. The teams had already memorized the faces and names of every Saurian involved in the attack. Admiral Zektar was at the top of the list, but there were hundreds of others. They would all pay for what they had done. Admiral Webb's fleet was almost ready to depart. The ships hung in space like a constellation of death. Each one was equipped with the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. The crews were volunteers who had lost friends or family at New Harmony. Sir, reported Captain Turner, we're receiving surrender offers from the Saurian Empire. They want to negotiate. Webb looked at the message on his screen. The Saurians were offering to pay compensation for the attack. They claimed it was all a misunderstanding. Admiral Zektar had acted without orders, they said. Webb deleted the message without reading it completely. Send them our response. The message was simple and direct. No mercy after the massacre. President Foster met with her War Council 1. Final time before the fleet departed. Are we ready? She asked. Ready, Madam President, General Kane replied. Our ships are faster, our weapons are more powerful, and our soldiers are better trained. Colonel Derek Stone crouched in the darkness outside Saurian military base Alpha 7. The base was located on a dead moon far from any populated worlds. It housed 3,000 Saurian soldiers and served as a supply depot for their frontier fleets. Tonight, it would learn what human special forces could do. Derek's team of 12 commandos wore black armor that bent light around them. To Saurian sensors, they were invisible. To Saurian eyes, they were just shadows in the darkness. They had been planning this mission for 2 weeks, studying every detail of the base layout. Phoenix team, this is Wolf Leader, Derek whispered into his communicator. We are go for Operation Payback. All teams report status. Across the galaxy, 11 other teams responded. Major Lisa Park was outside a Saurian weapons factory on Kepler 186F. Captain John Davis had infiltrated a communications hub on Proxima Centauri. See, each team was targeting a different military installation all at the same time. All teams ready, Wolf Leader, came the responses. Waiting for your signal? Derek checked his watch. Back on Earth, it was exactly midnight, a time to show the Saurians that humans could strike anywhere in the galaxy. Execute, Derek ordered. Derek's team moved like ghosts through the Saurian base. Their armor made no sound on the metal floors. Guards looked right through them without seeing anything. The human commandos reached the main power station without being detected. Sergeant Mike Torres placed a small device on the power core. Looked harmless, but it contained technology the Saurians had never seen before. Charge set, he reported. Meanwhile, Corporal Amy Chen hacked into the base's computer system. Her fingers moved quickly over a portable terminal. Within minutes, she had complete control of the base's defenses. I'm in, Amy reported. Downloading all files and preparing to turn their own weapons against them. Derek smiled behind his helmet. The Saurians thought their bases were safe because they were protected by energy shields and automated defenses. They never considered that humans might turn those defenses into weapons. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Nicole Turner commanded the stealth destroyer U.S. Retribution. Her ship hung invisible in space near a Saurian patrol fleet. The enemy ships had no idea Death was watching them from just a few miles away. Target acquired, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Paul Anderson. 6 Saurian cruisers in formation. They're following a standard patrol pattern. Nicole studied the tactical display. The Saurian ships were powerful, but they relied on old technology. Their sensors couldn't detect the Retribution's advanced cloaking system. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, they understood. Fire quantum torpedo, full spread, Nicole ordered. 6 torpedoes launched from the Retribution's hidden tubes. They were smaller than traditional missiles, but each one contained a quantum warhead that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. The Saurian ships never saw them coming. The first torpedo struck the lead Saurian cruiser. The ship simply vanished in a flash of white light. No explosion, no debris. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. The other 5 torpedoes found their targets seconds later. The entire Saurian patrol fleet was destroyed in less than 10 seconds. Targets eliminated, Lieutenant Anderson reported with satisfaction. No survivors. Nicole nodded grimly. That patrol fleet had been carrying supplies to Saurian bases in 3 different star systems. Now those bases would go hungry while they waited for reinforcements that would never come. Back on the Saurian moon base, Derek's team was ready to spring their trap. Amy Chen had uploaded a virus into the base computer system. Mike Torres had planted charges throughout the facility. The other team members had disabled the communications array so the base couldn't call for help. All teams, sound off, Derek commanded. One by one, the reports came in. Major Park's team had destroyed the weapons factory. Captain Davis had captured the communications hub and was broadcasting human propaganda across Saurian military networks. Every mission was succeeding beyond their wildest hopes. Detonate charges in 60 seconds, Derek ordered. All teams extract immediately. Derek's team ran through the base as alarms began to sound. The Saurian soldiers were finally realizing something was wrong, but it was too late. The charges exploded in sequence, turning the military base into a field of twisted metal and fire. The 12 simultaneous attacks sent shockwaves through the Saurian Empire. Bases that had been secure for decades were suddenly gone. Supply lines that had operated for years were cut. Communication networks that had never been compromised were broadcasting human messages. Admiral Zektar received the news in his flagship's command center. He had been preparing for a human counterattack, but nothing like this. The humans had struck 12 targets at once, hundreds of light years apart, all with perfect timing. How is this possible? Zektar demanded. Of technology. His intelligence officer, Commander Siskra, studied the reports with growing fear. Sir, these attacks show capabilities we never suspected. Stealth technology beyond our sensors, weapons that ignore our shields. Special forces that can infiltrate any installation. Zektar slammed his fist on the command table. They're just humans. Weak, primitive humans. How can they do this to us? But even as he spoke, more reports were coming in. 3 more patrol fleets had vanished without a trace. Major supply depot had been destroyed by invisible attackers. Communication stations across the Empire were broadcasting human messages that mocked. Saurian military power. Commander Steve Harrison sat in a comfortable chair on the neutral station. Deep Space Nine. Across from him was Ambassador Kell of the Zentari Republic, along with representatives from 6 other alien species. They had all come to hear what humanity wanted from them. We appreciate your support, Steve said calmly. But as I mentioned before, we don't need military assistance. We can handle the Saurians ourselves. Ambassador Kell leaned forward. Commander Harrison, we've been monitoring the situation. Your forces have destroyed 15 Saurian military installations in the past week. How is this possible with only 500 ships? Steve smiled, who said we only have 500 ships. The alien representatives looked at each other nervously. They had been calculating human military strength based on what they could see. But the attack suggested capabilities far beyond anything they had imagined. What we need from you is simple, Steve continued. Don't help the Saurians. Don't sell them weapons or supplies. Don't provide them with intelligence. Stay out of our way and let us finish this. The Corvin representative, a tall, insect-like being, clicked his mandibles nervously. What about the Galactic Empire's response? They can't allow one member species to attack another. The Galactic Empire is staying neutral, Steve replied. They'd seen the evidence of what the Saurians did at New Harmony. Even the Empire Council doesn't want to defend the massacre of 50,000 civilians. This was partly true. The Galactic Empire was indeed staying neutral, but not entirely by choice. Human intelligence agents had provided the Empire Council with evidence of other Saurian war crimes. They had also made it clear that any interference in the human-Saurian conflict would result in immediate human withdrawal from the Empire. The Empire needed human technology and trade too much to risk that. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked late into the night. In her laboratory on Earth, the first wave of attacks had been a complete success, but she knew the Saurians would adapt. It would start looking for ways to counter human technology. She had a solution for that. The quantum torpedoes used in the first attacks were actually the oldest weapons in her arsenal. She had been developing much more advanced systems in secret. How are the gravitational bombs coming along? She asked her assistant, Dr. Robert Kim. Ready for field testing, Robert replied. Each bomb can create a localized gravity well strong enough to crush a space station. Selena nodded with satisfaction, and the particle beam arrays installed on the second wave ships. They can slice through any known material like it was made of paper. Elena looked at the tactical display showing Admiral Webb's fleet position. They were still 2 days away from Saurian space, but when they arrived, they would have weapons the enemy couldn't even imagine. On his flagship, Admiral Zektar was getting desperate. His military advisors were telling him the human attacks were impossible. But the evidence was right in front of him. A quarter of his frontier bases had been destroyed or captured. His patrol fleets were disappearing one by one. Sir, reported his communications officer, we're receiving another message from the human fleet. Put it on screen, Zektar ordered. Admiral Marcus Webb's face appeared on the display. He looked calm and confident, like a man who held all the winning cards. Admiral Zektar, Webb said. I thought you should know that your frontier defenses have been eliminated. Your supply lines have been cut. Your communication networks are under our control. In 48 hours, my main fleet will arrive in Saurian space. Webb paused, letting the words sink in. You have one chance to avoid total destruction. Render. Yourself and all officers involved in the New Harmony massacre. Do this, and we will accept the surrender of your remaining forces. Zektar's face twisted with rage. Never. The Saurian Empire does not surrender to inferior species. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of his flagship as the human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Saurian territory. 500 warships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the distant star. Any observer, it looked like an impressive but manageable force. The Saurians had no idea what was really coming for them. Admiral, reported Captain Kate Sullivan from her communications station, Saurian forces are detecting our arrival. They're moving to intercept with approximately 800 ships. Webb smiled grimly. The Saurians still thought this was a conventional war between fleets of similar technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Phase 1 complete, Webb announced to his fleet. All ships, execute Ghost Protocol. Cross the human formation. Advanced cloaking systems. Activated. One by one, the 500 ships faded from Saurian sensors until they were completely invisible. The enemy would see empty space where moments before a massive fleet had been waiting. But that was just the beginning. Phase 2, execute Webb. Commanded space around the original human fleet position began to ripple and bend. New ships emerged from hyperspace, appearing where none had been detected before. Hundreds of them, then thousands. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything in the original fleet. Admiral Zektar watched from his command ship as the human fleet seemed to multiply before his eyes. His sensor officers were shouting conflicting reports. First they detected 500 ships, then none, then 2,000. What's happening? Zektar demanded. How many ships are there? His chief sensor operator, a young Saurian named Kresk, stared at his displays in confusion. Sir, I'm reading over 2,000 contacts now, but that's impossible. Humans don't have that many ships. Apparently they do, muttered Commander Siskra. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Admiral Webb's face appeared on the main screen. He looked calm and confident, like a man who had already won the battle. Admiral Zektar, Webb said. As you can see, we brought more than just 500 ships. This is your final warning. Surrender now, or face the consequences of your actions at New Harmony. Zektar's pride overruled his growing fear. The Saurian Empire does not surrender to anyone. Attack formations, all ships. Show these humans what real warriors can do. Webb's expression didn't change. You chose this path, Admiral. Remember that the transmission ended and Webb turned to his weapons officer. Begin the demonstration. Target their lead squadron only. I want them to understand what our weapons can do before we destroy them all. Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera nodded from his position at the weapons console. Quantum torpedo tubes loaded and ready, sir? Ire, 12 quantum torpedoes launched. From the human flagship, they were invisible to Saurian sensors until the moment they struck their targets. The lead Saurian squadron, 12 massive battlecruisers that had terrorized alien worlds for decades, simply vanished. No explosions, no debris fields. They were there 1 second and gone the next. The remaining Saurian fleet stopped advancing. 800 ships hung motionless in space as their crews tried to understand what had just happened. Sir, reported Kresk, his voice shaking, the lead squadron is gone. All 12 ships. No debris, no energy signatures. They just disappeared. Zektar stared at the tactical display. Those 12 ships had carried 3,000 Saurian warriors, elite soldiers who had conquered dozens of worlds. No, they were nothing but empty space. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Zektar ordered. Spread out and attack from multiple directions. But the human fleet was already moving. Captain Nicole Turner's stealth destroyers reappeared throughout the Saurian formation. They had been waiting invisible among the enemy ships, and now they struck from within. Blue particle beams lanced out from the human ships. The beams passed through Saurian shields like they weren't even there. Wherever the beams touched enemy hulls, the metal simply evaporated. Massive Saurian dreadnoughts were cut in half by weapons they couldn't see or defend against. Commander Kate Sullivan watched the battle from her heavy cruiser Use Thunder. Her ship was equipped with the new gravitational bomb launchers that Dr. Vasquez had developed. Each bomb could create a localized gravity well, powerful enough to crush anything nearby. "Target the enemy carrier groups," Kate ordered. "Show them what happens when you attack human civilians." 3 gravitational bombs launched toward a cluster of Saurian aircraft carriers. When they detonated, space itself seemed to bend and twist. The carriers were pulled into impossibly small points of crushing gravity. Metal screamed and broke as ships the size of cities were compressed into balls of twisted wreckage. The Saurian fleet was being torn apart by weapons they couldn't understand or counter. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were being destroyed by technology. It seemed like magic. Admiral Zektar realized his fleet was doomed, but his pride wouldn't let him retreat. All remaining ships ramming speed. "If we're going to die, we'll take some of them with us." The surviving Saurian ships charged toward the human fleet at maximum speed. It was a desperate tactic, but it was all they had left. Maybe they could damage some human ships before they died. Admiral Webb watched the enemy charge with cold calculation. All ships prepared defensive fire. Target their engines first. Want them to watch their fleet die slowly. It's the human weapons. Spoke again. Particle beams sliced through Saurian engine sections with surgical precision. Ships that had been charging at attack speed suddenly found themselves drifting helplessly. Their weapons were still functional, but they couldn't maneuver or escape. "Now target their weapons," Webb ordered. "Leave their life support intact. I want survivors to tell the galaxy what happened here." One by one, the Saurian ships were systematically disabled. Their weapons were cut away by particle beams. Their shields were collapsed by quantum torpedoes. Within an hour, 800 of the galaxy's most powerful warships had been reduced to helpless hulks drifting in space. Admiral Zektar sat in his command chair as his flagship systems failed around him. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. The smell of smoke filled the air from burning electronics. "Sir," reported Kresk, quietly, "all weapons are offline. Engines are destroyed. We have life support, but nothing else." Zektar looked around his ruined bridge. The Saurians had followed him into battle, believing they were fighting inferior enemies. Now they were learning the price of that arrogance. "Admiral Zektar," came Admiral Webb's voice over the communication system. "Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are disabled. I'm offering you one final chance to surrender and face trial for your war crimes." Zektar activated his communicator with shaking hands. "The Saurian Empire will never forgive this humiliation." "The Saurian Empire is about to learn that it no longer matters what they forgive," Webb replied. "You murdered 50,000 innocent people. Did you think there would be no consequences?" Webb paused, then continued in a voice as cold as deep space. "Your fleet is finished, Admiral. But we're not done with you yet. My next target is your homeworld. The people who ordered the New Harmony Massacre are going to pay for what they did." The transmission ended, leaving Zektar alone with the wreckage of his fleet. Around him, hundreds of disabled Saurian ships drifted like tombstones in space. The crews were alive. Their military power was completely broken. Captain Alex Rivera led the boarding parties that captured the surviving Saurian officers. His Marines moved through the disabled ships with ruthless efficiency. They were looking for specific people, those who had been present at the New Harmony Massacre. "Captain," reported Sergeant Lisa Park over the radio, "we've found Admiral Zektar. He's alive and uninjured." "Good," Alex replied. "Bring him to the flagship. The Admiral wants to have a conversation with him." As the human Marines dragged Zektar through the corridors of his own ship, he saw the faces of his surviving crew members. They looked at him with a mixture of fear and blame. These Saurians had trusted him to lead them to victory, and instead, he had led them to complete defeat. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle from her laboratory on Earth. The real-time data from the weapon systems exceeded even her expectations. The quantum torpedoes had performed perfectly. The particle beams had cut through enemy ships like they were made of paper. The gravitational bombs had worked exactly as designed. Doctor asked her assistant Robert Kim, "The fleet is requesting permission to deploy the planet-killer weapons against the Saurian homeworld." Alina considered the request carefully. The planet killers were her most advanced creation. Each one could turn an entire world into a new star. But using them would send a message that couldn't be taken back. Not yet, she decided. Admiral Webb still has conventional weapons that can accomplish the mission, save the planet killers for targets that really deserve them. But even as she spoke, Alina knew those weapons would probably be needed soon. The Saurian Empire had military bases throughout the galaxy. Some of them were built inside asteroids or hidden in gas giant clouds. Conventional weapons couldn't reach all of them. Admiral Webb's fleet began moving toward the Saurian home system. Behind them, they left a field of disabled enemy ships and a clear message to any aliens who might be watching. The Saurian homeworld of Scarth hung before the human fleet like a dark jewel against the stars. The planet was covered in massive cities and military installations that had been built over thousands of years. Orbital fortresses surrounded it, like a crown of steel and fire. It was the most heavily defended world in the Saurian Empire. Admiral Marcus Webb studied the tactical display from his flagship's bridge. The planet's defenses were impressive by galactic standards. Energy shields covered every major city. Weapon platforms bristled from the orbital stations. Thousands of fighter craft patrolled the space around the world. "It wouldn't be enough," Admiral reported, Captain Kate Sullivan. "We're detecting over 50,000 military personnel on the surface. Most of them are concentrated in the fortress complex where Admiral Zektar was based." Webb nodded grimly. Intelligence reports indicated that the fortress was where Zektar had brought captured human civilians after the New Harmony Massacre. It was where they had been tortured and killed for the entertainment of Saurian officers. "Send a message to the planetary government," Webb ordered. "Give them one final chance to surrender the war criminals." Transmission was sent to the Saurian High Command bunker deep beneath the planet's surface. Emperor Krast received the message in his armored command center, surrounded by his remaining military advisors. "Surrender Admiral Zektar and all officers involved in the New Harmony attack," came Admiral Webb's voice. "You have 1 hour to comply. Refuse, and we will take them ourselves." Emperor Krazath was an ancient Saurian who had ruled the Empire. For over 2 centuries, he had conquered dozens of worlds and subjugated countless species. Never in his long life had anyone dared to make demands of him. "The Saurian Empire does not negotiate with inferior species," Krast declared. "If the humans want Zektar, they can try to take him." The Emperor cut the transmission and turned to his advisors. "Activate all planetary defenses. Show these humans what happens when they threaten the Saurian homeworld." But unknown to the Emperor, human special forces were already on the planet. Major Jennifer Parks crouched in the shadows outside the fortress where Admiral Zektar was being held. Her team of elite commandos had infiltrated the planet 3 days earlier using stealth transports that the Saurian sensors couldn't detect. "Wolf Leader, this is Phoenix Team," Jennifer whispered into her communicator. "Target is confirmed inside the fortress. Heavy security, but nothing we can't handle." Colonel Derek Stone's voice came back through the secure channel. "Understood, Phoenix? You have authorization to proceed. Remember, we want Zektar alive for trial." Jennifer smiled grimly behind her helmet. After what Zektar had done to the civilians at New Harmony, keeping him alive was going to be the hardest part of the mission. Above the planet, Bar Webb waited for the Emperor's response. When the hour expired without any surrender, he activated the fleet's communication systems to broadcast across the entire galaxy. "Citizens of the Galactic Empire," Webb began, his voice reaching billions of beings on thousands of worlds. "Today, you will witness what happens when innocent humans are murdered. We offered mercy to those responsible. They chose to refuse it." Webb paused, then continued in a voice that carried the weight of humanity's anger. "Let no species in this galaxy ever again mistake human kindness for human weakness. We tried to live in peace among you. You taught us war instead." The transmission was being received on every major world in the galaxy. Alien leaders watched their screens as Admiral Webb gave the order that would change everything. "All ships, commence orbital bombardment." Target military installations only. Avoid civilian populations when possible, but eliminate all Saurian military capability. The human fleet opened fire with weapons the galaxy had never seen before. Particle beams lanced down from orbit, slicing through the planetary shields like they were made of paper. The orbital fortresses that had protected SCART H for millennia were cut apart in seconds. But Webb wasn't using the fleet's most powerful weapons yet. He wanted the Saurians to understand that this was just the beginning, Dr. Elena. Vasquez watched the bombardment from her laboratory on Earth. The weapons were performing exactly as designed. Each particle beam could cut through any known material. The quantum torpedoes turned enemy installations into empty space. The gravitational bombs crushed entire military complexes into twisted wreckage. "Doctor," asked her assistant, Robert Kim, "the planet's military forces are completely disabled. Should we begin the final phase?" Lena looked at the tactical display. The Saurian homeworld's defenses were in ruins. Their orbital platforms were debris fields. Their ground-based weapons were melted slag. It was time to send the galaxy a message it would never forget. "Deploy the planet killer," Elena ordered. "But target the uninhabited moon first. I want them to see what we could do to their world if we chose to." High above Scarth, a single human ship moved into position. It was smaller than the other vessels in the fleet, but it carried humanity's most terrifying weapon. Dr. Vasquez had designed it to turn entire worlds into new stars. The weapon fired a single beam of energy at Scartha's largest moon. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the moon began to glow, brighter and brighter, until it became a miniature sun. The rocky satellite that had orbited SCART H for billions of years was transformed into a ball of nuclear fire. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched in horror as humanity demonstrated the power to destroy entire worlds. The message was clear. If humans could turn a moon into a star, they could do the same to any planet. Emperor Krast watched the destruction of his moon from his bunker deep underground. The artificial star cast new light across his homeworld, a constant reminder of human power. "Sir," reported his communications officer with a shaking voice, "the humans are broadcasting another message." President Amanda Foster appeared on screens. Across the galaxy, she stood in the Oval Office with the flags of Earth and America behind her. "People of the galaxy," she began, "you have just witnessed a demonstration of humanity's capability. We could have used that weapon on the Saurian homeworld. We chose not to, because we are not like those who murdered our civilians." The president's voice grew harder. "But make no mistake, any species that attacks human colonies will face the same consequences. We will not tolerate the massacre of innocent people, whether they are human or alien." She paused, then delivered humanity's final ultimatum. "The Saurian Empire has 1 hour to surrender all war criminals for trial. If they refuse, we will begin removing their ability to threaten anyone ever again." Down on the planet's surface, Major Jennifer Parks and her team had reached Admiral Zektar's location. The Saurian admiral was hiding in a heavily fortified bunker, surrounded by his most loyal soldiers. "Phoenix team in position," Jennifer reported. "Beginning final assault." The human commandos moved through the fortress like avenging angels. Their weapons cut through Saurian armor and shields. Their technology made them invisible to enemy sensors. Within minutes, they had fought their way to Zektar's bunker. Jennifer found the admiral cowering behind his desk, trying to destroy records of what he had done at New Harmony. She stopped him with a single shot that disabled his hand without killing him. "Admiral Zektar," Jennifer said, removing her helmet so he could see her face. "I am Major Jennifer Parks of Earth Defense Command. You're under arrest for war crimes." Looked up at her with hate and fear. "You cannot do this." "I am a military officer of the Saurian Empire." "You're a military officer," Jennifer corrected. "Now, you're just a war criminal who murdered 50,000 innocent people." She activated a recording device and played footage from the New Harmony massacre. Zektar's own voice could be heard giving orders to hunt down human children for sport. "Recognize this?" Jennifer asked. "These were the last moments of families you destroyed. Men, women, and children who never hurt anyone." Zektar tried to look away, but Jennifer forced him to watch. You're going to stand trial for every single death. The galaxy is going to see what happens to people who commit genocide. Emperor Krast H received word that Zektar had been captured just as the human ultimatum expired. He knew his empire was finished. The humans had demonstrated weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. His military was in ruins. His people were terrified. Send a message to the human fleet, Krast H ordered with defeat in his voice. The Saurian Empire surrenders unconditionally. Admiral Webb received the surrender as he watched Jennifer Parks escort Admiral Zektar onto a human transport ship. The mission was complete. The people responsible for New Harmony would face justice. All ships, cease fire, Webb ordered. Begin occupation procedures. The war was over, but the trials were just beginning. 6 months later, Admiral Zektar stood in a courtroom on Earth before judges from a dozen different species. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Footage from New Harmony showed him personally ordering the execution of human civilians. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Every alien species watched as the charges were read. War crimes, genocide, crimes against sentient beings. The penalties were severe. Admiral Zektar, said the chief judge, you have been found guilty on all charges. The sentence is death. Zektar was executed using the same type of weapon his forces had used on human children,